Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the most emotional and dramatic stories behind reality TV's biggest stars. Today, we're telling the full story of Jenny and Sumit Singh from 90 Day Fiancé. Their love story touched millions, but it didn't end in happiness. Instead, it ended in heartbreak, betrayal, and even a courtroom battle. Jenny and Sumit Singh spent years trapped in constant family conflict. Sumit's parents never truly accepted Jenny. They wanted their son to marry a younger Indian woman, start a traditional family, have children, and continue the family bloodline. Hearing this again and again slowly broke Jenny emotionally. She wanted an independent life, free from control. Sumit, on the other hand, felt responsible for honoring his family and their traditions. Jenny said she didn't want to live under anyone's control, while Sumit believed caring for his parents was his duty. This constant clash, combined with non-stop family pressure, pushed them apart. After 4 years together, their relationship ended. On October 18th, their divorce was finalized in court. After the divorce, Sumit chose to follow his parents' wishes and married an Indian woman, hoping to start a new chapter. But the story didn't end there. Jenny later filed a case against Sumit, claiming he had borrowed $50,000 from her and never repaid it. The court investigated the claim and found it to be true. As a result, Sumit was ordered to pay the full $50,000 as a penalty. This isn't just a story about love gone wrong. It's about culture versus independence, family duty versus personal freedom, and the painful choices people are forced to make. Jenny was a woman searching for companionship and happiness later in life. Living in California, she had already experienced heartbreak. When she met Sumit Singh online, something felt different. Sumit was younger, charming, and deeply attentive. The age difference didn't matter to Jenny. What mattered was the connection they shared. They talked for hours, sometimes late into the night. Jenny felt alive again, like she had rediscovered love. Sumit was equally drawn to her. He admired her honesty, warmth, and fearless approach to life. Their online relationship soon became serious. Jenny decided to take a leap of faith and travel to India to be with Sumit friends, and family warned her that he was too young and that his parents would never accept her. Still, Jenny believed love could overcome anything. When she arrived in India, everything felt overwhelming. The crowds, the traditions, the expectations, it was all new. But she was willing to adjust. She wanted to prove that love could cross cultural boundaries. Sumit introduced Jenny to his life in India, though he was nervous. He knew his parents would disapprove. In Indian culture, marriage is about more than two people. It involves families, traditions, and lifelong responsibilities. Jenny represented love and freedom, but to his parents, she also represented rebellion against tradition. Despite this, Jenny and Sumit moved forward. They shared happy moments, simple meals, and dreams of a future together. Jenny truly believed she had found her life partner. Sumit promised her that he would always stand by her. But behind the scenes, problems were growing. Sumit's parents made their feelings clear. They wanted grandchildren and a continuation of the family name. Jenny, being older, could not give them that. To them, she wasn't a suitable wife. Jenny tried to win them over with kindness and respect, but nothing seemed to work. The pressure increased, and the criticism became harder to ignore. Still, Jenny held on to hope, believing love and patience would eventually change their hearts. When Jenny entered Sumit's family home, she wasn't just meeting his parents. She was stepping into generations of tradition. In their eyes, marriage was a duty to family and society. Jenny didn't fit into that picture. She was older, foreign, and different from what they had imagined for their son. They feared judgment from relatives and neighbors and believed their family honor was at risk. Jenny saw love as something personal, not something controlled by society. She had left everything behind in America for Sumit, trusting that their bond was strong enough. But she soon realized how powerful family expectations were in India. Sumit was stuck between two worlds. He loved Jenny, but he also felt deeply responsible for his parents. They reminded him daily of his duties as a son. Family gatherings became tense. Relatives asked uncomfortable questions about children and Jenny's age. Sumit tried to protect Jenny, but she could sense the rejection. She did her best to fit in, learning traditions, cooking local food, and showing respect. But no matter how hard she tried, she was never fully accepted. The conflict between freedom and duty slowly wore them down. Jenny wanted independence and peace. Sumit felt tied to tradition and responsibility. Their love was real, but the pressure surrounding them was relentless. Over time, Jenny realized that this relationship wasn't just about love anymore. It was about surviving in a world where tradition mattered more than personal happiness. For Sumit, the question became impossible to ignore. Could he truly choose Jenny without losing his family? And for Jenny, the painful truth became clear. Sometimes love isn't enough to overcome deeply rooted traditions, but the reality was far harsher than Jenny had ever imagined. From the very beginning, Sumit's parents treated her like an outsider. They didn't see her as a wife. They saw her as a threat to their son's future. Every time Jenny stepped into the family home, she felt it. The silent judgment, the side glances, the whispers, the quiet exclusion. It constantly reminded her that she did not belong. Jenny tried everything she could to close the distance between them. She learned to cook Indian food, carefully following recipes to respect their culture. She wore traditional clothes, hoping it would show her sincerity. She even tried to learn Hindi, practicing words late at night so she could communicate better. But no matter how much effort she made, the wall between her and Sumit's parents never came down. The most painful moments happened during family gatherings. Relatives asked questions that cut deep. Why did you marry someone so much older? What about children? Jenny would smile politely, but inside she was breaking. She knew she could never give them what they wanted most, grandchildren. And in their eyes, that made her unworthy. Sumit often stood beside her, but Jenny could feel his hesitation. He wanted to defend her, yet he was afraid of disrespecting his parents. His silence hurt more than harsh words. Slowly, Jenny began to wonder if she was fighting a battle she could never win. At night, Jenny cried quietly to herself. She questioned whether love was really enough. She had left her family, her country, and everything familiar to be with Sumit. But instead of acceptance, she found rejection. The emotional pain was heavy. She felt unwanted, broken, and powerless. Still, Jenny refused to give up. She told herself she wasn't just fighting for love. She was fighting for dignity. She wanted to prove that her relationship was real, that her love was genuine, and that she deserved respect. But the more she fought, the stronger the resistance became. Sumit's parents remained firm, and their disapproval slowly began to damage the foundation of Jenny and Sumit's marriage. What once felt like a love story was turning into a fight for survival. Jenny's struggle wasn't only about approval. It was about her identity, her independence, and her right to live without being controlled. As the conflict deepened, she realized her fight was far from over. For Sumit, life became an emotional battlefield. On one side was Jenny, the woman he chose, the partner who loved him without conditions. On the other side were his parents, deeply rooted in tradition, reminding him daily of his duty as a son. His heart was torn in two. He loved Jenny deeply. She was his confidant, his companion, the person who made him feel alive. With her, he could laugh freely and dream of a future built on love instead of obligation. But when he looked at his parents, he saw disappointment. To them, Jenny was not a wife, but a mistake, a symbol of rebellion against everything they believed in. The pressure never stopped. His parents constantly reminded him of his responsibilities. A son must care for his parents. A son must continue the family name. A son must give us grandchildren. These words echoed in his mind, drowning out his own desires. Sumit tried to live in both worlds. At night, he reassured Jenny, whispering promises that he would never leave her. During the day, he gave in to his parents, trying to calm them, trying to prove he was still a good son. Living this double life drained him. Jenny could see his inner struggle. She noticed the hesitation in his eyes, the silence when his parents criticized her, the way he avoided confrontation. She wanted him to stand firmly by her side. She understood his culture. but his lack of action hurt her deeply. Sumit's torn heart became the center of their relationship problems. He was trapped between modern love and traditional duty. Every choice felt like betrayal. Choosing Jenny meant hurting his parents. Choosing his parents meant breaking Jenny's heart. As time passed, the tension with Sumit's parents reached its breaking point. What started as quiet disapproval turned into open confrontation. His parents demanded a decision. One evening, during a heated discussion, Sumit's father spoke firmly. There was no room for compromise. He told Sumit he must choose, either leave Jenny or leave the family. The words cut through the room like a knife. Jenny sat silently, her heart racing, while Sumit stared at the floor, frozen between love and duty. His mother added to the pressure. She spoke of family honor, community shame, and the gossip spreading among relatives and neighbors. She asked what people would say. She reminded him that he married a woman older than them, gave up children, and ruined his future. The message was clear. If Sumit stayed with Jenny, he would lose his family support and their blessing. If he left Jenny, he would destroy the woman who gave up everything for him. Jenny felt completely crushed. She always knew acceptance would be difficult, but she never imagined it would come to this. To her, love meant freedom and choice. Now, her presence in Sumit's life was treated like a crime. Sumit stayed silent. He didn't defend Jenny. He didn't stand up to his parents. His silence told her everything. In that moment, Jenny realized she was fighting alone. That ultimatum changed everything. Jenny finally saw the truth. Sumit's love was real, but it was trapped by tradition. He wanted to protect her, but he also wanted to protect his family's honor. And in a world where both could not exist together, someone had to lose. The weight of that moment stayed with them. Jenny cried herself to sleep, wondering if she had wasted years chasing a dream that could never survive reality. Sumit struggled with guilt, knowing that any choice he made would leave deep scars. This was no longer just a love story. It was a battle between independence and tradition, between personal happiness and cultural duty. And deep down, both of them knew their relationship was nearing its end. Jenny had fought for years to prove her love, her loyalty, and her worth. But the constant rejection from Sumit's parents, the endless pressure, and the silence of the man she trusted slowly broke her down. What began as a hopeful journey turned into a daily fight just to survive. Her spirit, once strong and hopeful, began to crack. She had given up her home, her family, and her comfort in America to build a life with Sumit in India. Instead of acceptance, she found herself trapped in a cycle of criticism, control, and heartbreak. As the days passed, the emotional distance between Jenny and Sumit grew heavier. What once felt like love and warmth slowly turned into silence and tension. Jenny felt like she was walking on eggshells every day, careful not to upset Sumit or trigger another wave of family drama. Her home no longer felt like a place of peace. It felt like a place where she was constantly judged and unwanted. Jenny started to feel invisible. Her opinions no longer mattered. Her feelings were often brushed aside in favor of family expectations. She noticed how Sumit had changed. He was quieter, more withdrawn, always worried, always stressed. The man who once promised to fight for their love now avoided difficult conversations. Jenny felt lonely, even when he was sitting right beside her. Simple arguments became more frequent. They argued about where to live, how to deal with his parents, and what their future would look like. Jenny wanted clarity. She wanted to know if Sumit truly chose her or if she was just someone he was holding onto out of guilt. Sumit struggled to give her a clear answer. His fear of losing his parents kept him trapped. Jenny began questioning her own worth. She asked herself why she had to prove her value over and over again. She had loved Sumit sincerely. She had respected his culture. She had sacrificed her entire life to be with him. Yet none of it seemed enough. The rejection slowly chipped away at her confidence. Financial stress added another layer of tension. Jenny had used much of her savings to support their life together. She paid for rent, daily expenses, and helped Sumit during difficult times. She trusted him completely and believed they were building a future together. But as the relationship weakened, that trust began to fade. Sumit's parents continued to pressure him behind closed doors. They reminded him that time was passing, that he needed children, and that he needed a wife who fit into their world. They brought up potential matches, comparing Jenny to younger women who could give him everything Jenny couldn't. These conversations weighed heavily on him. Jenny noticed that Sumit stopped defending her altogether. When his parents criticized her, he stayed quiet. When they blamed her for ruining his life, he didn't speak up. That silence hurt Jenny more than any insult. It made her feel disposable. Eventually, Jenny reached a breaking point. One night, after another emotional argument, she told Sumit she couldn't live like this anymore. She said she was tired of fighting alone. She was tired of being treated like a mistake. She asked him directly if he was willing to choose her completely, without hesitation. Sumit didn't answer right away. His silence filled the room. That silence gave Jenny the answer she had been dreading. She realized that no matter how much he loved her, he would never fully choose her over his family. That realization shattered her. Jenny felt defeated. She had held on to hope for so long, believing things would change. But now she saw the truth clearly. Love alone could not erase generations of tradition and expectation. After many emotional conversations, they made the painful decision to separate. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It was quiet and heartbreaking. They both knew it was the end, even if they didn't want to admit it. Jenny felt like her world was collapsing, but she also felt a strange sense of relief. The constant fight was finally over. The divorce process was long and emotionally draining. Facing the legal reality of their separation made everything feel final. On October 18th, their divorce was officially finalized in court. For years of love, sacrifice, and struggle came to an end with a few signatures. After the divorce, Sumit returned fully to his family. He followed their wishes and eventually married an Indian woman chosen with their approval. To his parents, it felt like order had been restored. Tradition had won. The family name and future were secure once again. For Jenny, the aftermath was devastating. She returned to America emotionally exhausted and financially strained. She had lost not only a relationship, but also years of her life and much of her savings. As she tried to rebuild herself, she reflected on everything she had given up. That's when another painful truth came to light. Jenny realized that during their relationship, she had lent Sumit a large amount of money, around $50,000. It was money she gave out of love and trust, believing they were partners. But after the divorce, Sumit did not repay it. Feeling betrayed once again, Jenny decided to take legal action. Filing a court case wasn't easy for her. She never wanted things to end this way, but she felt she had no choice. She needed justice, not just for the money, but for everything she had endured. The court investigated Jenny's claim carefully. Evidence showed that the money had indeed been borrowed and never returned. Jenny's allegation was proven true. The court ruled in her favor and ordered Sumit to repay the $50,000. While the court decision brought some closure, it didn't erase the emotional scars. Jenny wasn't celebrating. For her, it wasn't about winning. It was about finally being heard. This story isn't just about a failed relationship. It's about the painful clash between love and culture. It's about how deeply family expectations can shape lives and decisions. Jenny wanted independence, respect, and freedom. Sumit wanted love, but he also wanted to honor his parents and traditions. In the end, both of them lost something. Jenny lost the future she dreamed of. Sumit lost the woman who loved him without conditions. Their story became a reminder that love, no matter how strong, sometimes isn't enough to overcome deeply rooted beliefs. Jenny's journey was filled with courage, sacrifice, and heartbreak. She fought for love, dignity, and independence until she had nothing left to give. And while her story ended in pain, it also became a lesson about knowing when to walk away and choose yourself. This was the story of Jenny Sladden and Sumit Singh, a love story that began with hope, crossed continents, challenged traditions, and ultimately ended in heartbreak and hard truths.